Steve's notes on Luke chapter 7. This is something that I would have done on Sunday morning during Bible study, but I wanted to look at the miracles of Jesus instead. So I'm just going to give you a few, kind of background commentary on Luke chapter 7, the things that I did not mention in my message, at least the message that I just gave you right, you know, the YouTube. I have no idea what I'm going to say on Sunday. So it's just a few background. The centurion. We're going to meet a couple more centurions in Acts and Luke. Uh, at the very end of the gospel, Luke 23:47, the centurion declares Jesus righteous. Acts chapter 10, an important movement of the gospel to the Gentiles, apart from circumcision, apart from becoming a Jew. I forgot to bring this in, and it's kind of important in these parallels between the centurion and the widow. So Elisha, the prophet, Elisha, the prophet, healed a foreign general from a distance through an intermediary. Okay. Uh, you should be thinking of that story. Did I think of that story? I did not. But this has to do with Jesus being a prophet. Next, Elijah went to a widow of Zarephath and raised her son from the dead and restored her to the widow, just like Jesus. Uh, the touching of the bier, the stretcher, they're carrying him on a stretcher, a bier. Yeah. It would make Jesus unclean. And I believe it would only make him unclean till evening. Uh, then let's see. Note in 7:19 that the author calls Jesus Lord. You might want to think about that, paying attention to who calls Jesus what. Simon the Pharisee calls Jesus teacher. What does that mean? Uh, it's a sign of respect, but I don't know. Who knows? Not quite. So he calls him Lord, and I think he's doing it for a purpose as far as Jesus' identity. Uh, in verse 23, 7:23, blessed is the one who's not offended by me. I want to do a little bit of etymology, and I've warned you before. Whenever a pastor or a Christian says, well, the root meaning of this word is, your warning signals should be going off saying, warning, danger, danger. So sometimes knowing the etymology is helpful. You can kind of tell whether the etymology is helpful or not based on whether it actually matches the use of the word. So offended by me, or I forget how else they translate this word, but the root of the word, the Greek word scandalon or scandalizo, the verb, has to do with a trap or a snare. And there are some passages where this kind of makes all the difference in the world. It trips people up, it causes people to stumble, it offends people. It's all in the same domain. I'm not saying the word doesn't mean what the translators say it means. What I'm saying is understanding the root word there of a trare or a snap or a snare or a trap is very helpful, especially when Jesus says in, what is it? Matthew, I think, um, where he says, cut off your foot, cut off your hand. Well, yeah, if your foot is caught in a snare or a trap, you need to cut it off. That's not what Luke is saying here, but it is the same idea. Don't get entrapped by Jesus so that you can no longer follow him. All right. A reed shaken by the wind. I assume has more than one meaning, but, you know, a reed shaken by the wind. When you went to see John the Baptist, was he the kind of person who would sway in the wind? He goes this way with society, that way with society. John was not like that. He was pretty steadfast, stick to his guns kind of thing. Uh, I read in N.T. Wright, he said that the On Herod's coins, you would see a symbol of wheat, reeds of wheat swaying in the wind. And so, if you see this then as parallel, did you go out to see the reeds shaken by the wind? That is Herod Antipas, the king. Did you see someone in soft clothing? Herod the king. No, no, Herod the king is in his palace. Is that what you were going out to see? A certain type of king when you went out to see John the Baptist. So between Herod on the one side and John the Baptist on the other side, Jesus says, hey, what therefore about me? What was John doing? He was pointing the way to me. If you look up Malachi chapter 3, which I would encourage you to do, Yahweh comes to cleanse his temple and to bring judgment and to bring mercy. So look that up. Oh, I forgot this about God visiting his people. Yeah. So here's 4 examples: the Exodus deliverance from slavery, God showing up, visiting Sarah and Hannah to give them babies. In Ruth, you've got God ending the famine in Israel. And then you got a bunch of examples of God bringing judgment, visiting his people with judgment. Whew. In verse 29 and 35, you've got parallel statements that is not totally easy to see. They declared God just. Wisdom is justified by all her children. Those are parallel statements. They mean the same thing. The children of wisdom justify wisdom. The children of God justify God. They declare God right. Yeah, God is right here. Imagine that. God is vindicated. When I believe what God is doing in John the Baptist and Jesus, that is wisdom. That is God. That's saying, yes, this is wisdom. This is God at work. Okay. There's a bit of a chiasm going on there. 30 to 34 are the middle of the chiasm. If you want to know what a chiasm is, you can just ask. All right. Very end of this chapter, we're left hanging. We don't know how Simon and his friends will respond. And that's something to pay attention to when you're left hanging with what happened? What's the rest of the story with Simon and his friends? How did they respond? And the answer is, well, how are you going to respond? Are you going to agree with Simon up to this point, or are you going to agree with the sinful woman? Which one are you? Are you the guy who has little to forgive and therefore don't need it? You've already dealt with your sin. Or are you like the sinful woman who's just overjoyed because God has forgiven your sin? Right. God's peace be with you.